fight fans, to my channel. This is Johnny, and today we're going to be going over the statistics that nobody talks about when mentioning a possible fight between Devin Haney and Subriel Matias. Guys, we know Devin Haney's getting ready for his April 20th championship fight with Ryan Garcia. That's happening in less than 2 weeks. And we also know that Subriel Matias has a fight booked. He's putting his IBF super lightweight strap on the line this June in Puerto Rico against the Aussie Liam Perro. What we wanted to do today was do a comparison side-by-side breakdown with the number 1, Haney, and number 2, Matias, super lightweight fighters in the world. In a perfect landscape, we know as fight fans, we'd be able to see the best fighters fighting the best fighters. But in this day and age of social media, Twitter, Instagram, we know that doesn't always happen. All the sanctioning bodies, promotional companies, it really takes a lot for two fighters who are at the top of their game to come together. Think Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. I think that's the side of that fight that doesn't get spoken about enough, is how those guys had to come together personally without their promotional companies to make that fight happen. So I always use that as an example when fans talk about this fight will never happen or those guys will never fight each other. I'm like, well, at one time people said EJ and Bud wouldn't fight, and we got to see that matchup. Let's focus on Haney and Matias. I think this would be a perfect stylistic boxing fans matchup between a boxer and somebody who wants to stand there and trade in Subriel Matias. Before we break down the statistics individually, I want to fill you in what we're going to be doing. We're going to come up with a stat called strength of schedule. What we'll do is rewind the clock on both fighters' resumes, rewind it back 5 fights ago, and talk about who they fought, how the fight went, and then we're going to take their opponent's win-loss record on the night that they fought the fighter, add all that up, and come up with a strength of schedule, basically identifying how strong or how weak each fighter's resume is. And before we do that, let's talk a little bit about some stats that we do know about Devin Haney. Devin Haney's 31-0 with 15 knockouts. He holds a 48% knockout to win ratio. He's currently ranked number 1 super lightweight in the world. At 25 years old, standing at 5'8" with a 71-inch reach, the Orthodox fighter hails from the United States, and he is currently the WBC super lightweight world champion. We know he's taking on Ryan Garcia April 20th for his WBC strap. I want to rewind the clock 5 fights ago, starting with the Regis Prograis fight, and talk a little bit about the statistics of how those fights went. Prograis 29-1, UD in the 12th. Lomachenko 17-2, UD in the 12th. Kambosos the second time, 20-1, UD in the 12th. Kambosos the first time, 20-0, UD in the 12th. Diaz, 32-1, UD in the 12th. Let's grab our calculators out, and what we're gonna get is a statistic that reads 118 wins with 5 losses, giving Devin Haney's opponents a 96% resume strength of schedule. The knock on Haney isn't the fact that he's undefeated. We know the guy is 5-0 in his last 5, 31-0 in his career, but it comes down to how he goes about his business. A lot of fight fans want to see Haney sit down on his power more, take more risks in the pocket, but with such a high fight IQ, we're not going to see a Devin Haney go into a firefight and risk everything on pleasing the fans. Over his last 5, he has 5 unanimous decision victories, and that's kind of the naysayers' narrative, is that he doesn't have any pop, he doesn't have any power, and he wins by decision, doesn't take risks. We've seen other fighters do this throughout their career, and it goes to show you how lucrative that system could be as long as you remain undefeated. Let's turn the page and talk a little bit about Subriel Matias. Subriel Matias is 20-1 with 20 knockouts. He's one of 2 champions, including Artur Beterbiev, who has a 100% knockout to win ratio throughout their career. He's currently the number 2 super lightweight in the world. At 32 years old, standing at 5'8" with a 71-inch reach, the Orthodox fighter hails from Puerto Rico, and he's currently the IBF super lightweight world champion. We know that Matias is taking on Liam Perro in his home country of Puerto Rico on June 15th. So let's rewind the clock back and look at Matias's last 5. Ergashev, 23-0, knockout in the 6th. Ponce, 30-0, knockout in the 5th. Inyanin, 16-2, knockout in the 9th. Jukambayev, 18-0, knockout in the 8th. Hawkins, 18-0, knockout in the 6th. Grab those calculators. What we'll get is a percentage of 105 wins with 2 losses, giving Matias a 98% win-loss strength of schedule for his opponents over his last 5. He is 5-0 with 5 knockouts. Matias has beaten 4 undefeated fighters. And a cool stat about Matias' last 5, when he knocked out Ananyan in the 9th round, that was him avenging his only loss. And this is why he does have a career 100% knockout to win ratio. His only loss, avenges it via knockout. When we talk about these two fighters, a lot of the measurements cancel each other out. They're both 5'8". They both have a 71-inch reach. They're both orthodox fighters. But in terms of how they fight, we couldn't talk about a more contrasted style. When we talk about Matias, he kind of rings some memories of when Sergey Kovalev was in his prime. We know Kovalev had gotten to some brawls mid through his career and actually killed a guy in the ring. Same thing with Matias. This happened, and this has kind of created this stigma around fighting him as he's the boogeyman. So whenever we talk about Subriel Matias, any boxing pundits write about him, this always gets brought up. He has power that can hurt, damage, and sadly, an instance, take the life of a fighter. So as an opponent, this has to be in their head. Liam Perro is planning for this. This is something that he's been asked by the media over and over, and he claims that it doesn't affect him. But you know, psychologically as a fighter, it'd be hard not to when you know that you're dealing with a guy who has that intense of power. When we look at their last 5 as well, Haney wins fights unanimous decisions. Matias wins fights via knockouts. You could game plan for this. Devin Haney, we know, isn't going to stand and trade with Matias. Matias doesn't have the best footwork, does broadcast what he wants to do. Haney is at only 25. I'm not quite sure we've seen him develop all of his skills yet. Matias being 32, you'd have to think by that stage of his career being a super lightweight, we know what his upside is. His potential we see. It's really tough as a 32-year-old fighter to add new tricks to the arsenal. Haney, we don't know. As he gets bigger in his career and as he grows into his body, he's not going to stay at 140. He'll go up to 47, maybe even 54. He cuts a lot of weight. And only time will tell if Haney will be able to develop the power that a lot of people use to knock him for him not having. So when you look at these guys side by side, it's basically power versus fight IQ. Which one are you going to take? Can that power lead to him creating situations against Haney and actually landing? And can Haney's fight IQ keep him safe against Subriel Matias? If this fight were to go down as it stands, if Haney beats Garcia, Matias beats Perro, both of these guys will still be number 1 and number 2 in the world in the super lightweight rankings. The fight only makes sense. Which side would you be on? Team Haney or Team Matias? Let me know in the comment section below.